Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brendan Horan. I am the math teacher to Section 704, 705, and 706, and the advisor to Section 705 at Baldy Middle School. And tonight I will be taking you through the syllabus that I've created for the class, as well as giving you a demonstration of the document camera that we'll be using during class. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email address is bhoran@philasd.org, and I typically respond to those emails within the hour. So please reach out to me, and aside from that, let's get going. I'm going to present my screen now, which has a copy of the syllabus which I'd given out electronically to each of your young students earlier on in the year. It was one of the first things that we went over during our introductory week. What you can see at the very top is just some coordinating information, but communication, most importantly, like I had mentioned, please reach out to me by email. That is the quickest way to get to me. But also, I do encourage you to connect to your students' Google Classroom and their Class Dojo. So the Google Classroom codes for each of the 3 sections I teach are displayed there right here in the center. And then again, connect through Class Dojo. You can send me an email. I can connect you either by your email or by phone number, but a lot of our school-wide information flows through Class Dojo, so that would be a great place to remain connected throughout this year. Class information here are just some of the pieces that your student will need in order to have success this year. Beginning in the top left box, the textbook that we have is the Envision Math 2021. Formerly by Pearson, currently by Savas. They will receive a consumable copy of that textbook. Mr. Carr and Miss Ryan are at Baldy Middle School certain days out of the week in order to hand out those hard copy materials. I also have a PDF copy available for each of the first 3 topics that we'll go over. So if that's easier to use, your student may definitely use that. Top right box, we see some of the required supplies for your students, including a notebook in which we will take about 1 to 2 slides of notes per day, pens and pencils, highlighters, and then a calculator. A 2-line display is recommended. And what I'm showing here is a sample of the calculator that we have from the school. This one is called a TI-34 Multiview. This is an acceptable calculator along with many others. But please, it is a lot easier to use a handheld calculator than to try to switch back and forth between tabs, which they might currently be doing. Bottom left here, we see the grading scale, which is set by the School District of Philadelphia. Homework at 10%, projects and presentations at 20%, classwork and participation at 30%, and tests and quizzes at 40%. We'll talk a little bit about what to expect each week in terms of that later on in this video, but I did just want to give you an idea of that grading scale. And then bottom right, we see some of the Baldy values in our I Am Baldy initiative, which will drive the classroom culture that we're still going to cultivate this year, even virtually. Respect is my top value, which is the reason that I put it at the top of the list. And I believe that your students can inform you as to why if they haven't already done so. On the second page here, here's some information about vocabulary, which you might have heard so far. There are basically 2 classes per instructional block. Each instructional block begins with an hour of live instruction, what the district is calling synchronous. And for that live instruction that is in the Google Meet form where your students are able to connect with me and ask questions. And as you can tell by the very bottom expectation there, asking questions and being open and honest is going to help us throughout this year, going to help all of us. On the right-hand side, the last half hour of that instructional blocks is what we are calling flex and what the district is calling asynchronous. And during that time, that's when your students will complete the classwork and homework that they usually would within a school year to then bring those questions to me at the beginning of the following day's live instruction. If you have any questions on how each individual day will look schedule-wise, feel free to send me an email. Classwork here. So during our live instructional blocks, one of the things that we'll be using a lot is something called a document camera. And it's the ability that I have here to record my hands working as if it were a typical whiteboard. So I'm going to stop presenting my screen right now. And I'm actually going to switch over to the document camera right here. So if you can see, it's got a camera that points down to my hands. And when I switch over, you'll see that what it will start doing is recording what I have right below here. So the camera is pointed downwards at my hands. And what your students see, for example, this is a board that we had used earlier during the week. And let me just adjust the camera here, which I occasionally have to do at times to fit. But this board is just a whiteboard using the typical markers. And what your student sees is how we can now use this board in the same way that we would a whiteboard. So, for example, one of the things that we talked about early on in this year was using the keep, change, flip, or KCF rule to change from a subtraction-based problem to an addition-based problem. And your student might have found this interesting because usually the KCF rule is only used in the division of fractions, but it can actually be used to change the operation of any of the four main operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. As you can see, the colors kind of pop brightly off of that. The black here is what would be given in the book, -4 minus parentheses -9. And if we were to use keep, change, flip, my -4 would remain a -4, the keep function. My subtraction sign would become an addition sign, which would be the change. And then my -9 would flip its position on a number line to become a +9. This is interesting because this problem, -4 plus 9 equals 5. For some of your students, that might be a mental math problem, whereas looking at the problem in the structure that it's originally given, absolutely not. So we say down here, both methods work with calculators, but one is a lot easy to conceptualize. So this is one example of how we would use this document camera to teach a specific skill. We might also use the document camera to do maybe some math vocabulary, discussing here what we have for a repeating decimal, a decimal with digits that repeat in an identifiable pattern, along with some examples on the bottom, such as 1/3, which has the digit 3 repeating, or 1/7, which is a more challenging fraction because this has 6 repeating digits: 0.142857, 142,857, 142,857. So we could also use this for math vocabulary enrichment. And later on in the year, this will be a very easy way to, let me just adjust the camera here to find a bigger, slightly bigger board. Later on in the year, one thing that we'll be able to do is to use this for our algebraic work. That algebraic work such as, there we go, beginning the problem with 3x plus 12 equals 7x minus 4. Well, from here, we would use inverse operation in order to isolate our variable. 3x would move over to the right side, -4 would move to the left, inverse operation, so a negative and a positive. We simplify our problem to 4x equals 16. Opposite of that division would be the, opposite of that multiplication would be division, and we landed our answer, x is 4. So this camera can easily be manipulated and moved in order to fit as many pieces in here. This is one way that we're going to keep the spirit of the classroom alive by having a whiteboard where your students can give the answer. I can be writing them down as if we were really in school. So I'm very excited to be able to use and to show, let me just move that out the way. Very excited to be able to use that this year. It is, so far, it's been working really well, and I think that your students have responded positively to it. We have just a few more pieces that I'd like to show you before we wrap up. I'm going to again present the screen that I have, which is the syllabus that your students have a copy of. So we mentioned the document camera for our live classwork, which we could do there. Homework or flex work, those terms are interchangeable. And since we are fully virtual, all homework will be a component of classwork in terms of the grading scale. So here, what you will definitely want to know is, what will each week look like? Well, the days Monday through Thursday are going to feel very similar because each of those days we will be teaching a lesson. We will be reviewing new content. Fridays for your students are half days where the morning of that half day is live instruction with each of their teachers, and the afternoon of that was flex instruction. During that flex time, or I should say during the live instruction time, we're going to review what we had covered Monday through Thursday. So every Friday will be a review day. And then during the flex time, which comes after, that's when your students will have a graded classwork component, typically a Google form due by Sunday night, because I do know that after a full week of virtual instruction, they might want some time away. So it's not due on that Friday. We do still have Imagine Math. For those of you that are familiar with the district, you are probably familiar with this program. We will still be using that. And just some final thoughts here. I am very much looking forward to this year working with your young learners. 7th grade is a crucial time in any young adolescent's life, not only mentally and physically, but also in preparation for everything that's going to come after. I will continue to establish and reinforce characteristics of successful students, such as integrity, a willingness to accept constructive criticism, and perseverance. Thank you in advance for your continued support, and please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions or concerns you may have. Thank you very much for listening. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that all of you reach out to me at bhoran@philasd.org with any questions at all. Take care, and I look forward to this year.